It's a shame I didn't hit record 3 seconds earlier like I thought about because what you just said really sums up
Ah.
Pearl very well.
Oh, yes, yes.
Everything that you have done has been done before.
Yes.
Um,
Everything that you need to be done, that you need to ever do, it's
yeah.
already been done.
And I'm not insulting Pearl at all. I love Pearl. But once we get to Maxine, it's very clear that that's what Pearl's purpose in this story is she's a cautionary tale to Maxine, where they have the
Mm,
same hopes and dreams of being this big star,
yeah,
but you don't know how Maxine ends up. I know how Maxine ends up,
that's
but we
right.
do know that it doesn't work out for Pearl. And we saw at the end of X, she was like, "You're just like me. You're gonna end up just like me."
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's so funny because I was texting with my friend Tim about Pearl. He said Pearl thinks she's so talented, but she can't do shit. It's like,
Oh,
so
oh.
anyway, I was like, oh, okay, so I guess she's not a good dancer then, because you don't see anything happen until like the very end, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this big, excellent production, and it's just like fine.
Well, that's an interesting conversation to be had. So,
Yeah.
anyway, welcome to our podcast. Uh,
Hello.
this is the Real Horror Show, a horror movie review podcast where we review horror movies from Netflix, Hulu, Shudder, and everything in between. I am your host, Sam Odie.
And I'm your co-host, Stormy Skies.
Welcome to our podcast. Today we will be reviewing Pearl, which is a 2022 horror film directed, produced, and edited by Ty West and co-written by West and Mia Goth, who reprises her role as the title character. It also features David Corenswet, Tandy Wright, Matthew Sunderland, and Emma Jenkins Pirro in supporting roles. A prequel to X and the second installment of the X film series, it serves as an origin story for the title villain, whose fervent aspiration to become a movie star will lead to her committing violent acts on her family's Texas homestead in 1918. And this is how we like to break it down. We start with characters and acting, then move on to story and writing, and top it all off with some production notes. And then we like to discuss the real horrors this movie addresses. Sometimes they're serious, and sometimes we like to have a bit of goofy fun. That being said, we are a horror movie podcast. So here's a general trigger warning. We talk about death, blood, guts, and other unsavory topics that might not be suitable for everyone. Although we try to do so sensitively, listeners' discretion is advised. Movies are then rated on a scale of what the fuck did I just watch, which means there are no redeeming qualities to be found, meh, it's okay, and ah, yeah, that fucked me up, which is what all horror should strive to be. So let's
Absolutely.
continue.
Yes. Continue that conversation there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, a good conversation surrounding this movie is what is in Pearl's head and what is actually reality.
Ah, yes.
So I think she nailed her audition, and the only reason she didn't get it is because she wasn't a blonde, which is stupid because she could always bleach her hair.
Yes. Yeah.
Although this is 1918, so
Yeah, maybe it wasn't too
we
common.
it is very early in the film industry. We saw the movie she was watching, which were just like little dancing girls.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess the age of the Hollywood starlet hadn't started yet because it was very common in old Hollywood
Mhm.
to completely become a new person. You know, Norma Jean becomes Marilyn Monroe.
Mhm.
Little mousy brunette turns into the big blonde bombshell. So I guess in 1918, bleaching your hair may not have been an option or something a small theater company would think to do if they liked her.
Yeah, and also that's wild that they mentioned like having an X factor like in 1918. I feel like maybe that wasn't like
A phrase.
yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's also a
uh
good point.
I don't
Uh,
know, but yeah, they just wanted someone like super hot and sexy, and everyone was like not allowed to do that yet. So I don't know what these guys were thinking
yeah.
in the church. I was like, what?
But I think it's just as likely that Pearl
Yeah.
sucked, and the whole dance routine we saw was completely in her head, not just all the fantastical elements of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an
Either way,
interesting point. I didn't even consider like perceiving the film that way at all, but like it makes
mhm,
sense because she's like totally insane.
yeah. So the year is 1918. The Spanish flu is happening.
Ah, I was wondering what
Um,
it was. I was like, what is it that I what?
yeah, so the Spanish flu is happening. That's what her German mother is so afraid of.
Gotcha.
And her dad is in a wheelchair.
Yeah, sure
Um, and
is.
then there's the hot film reel operator,
Yeah.
potential porn director, but unfortunately his life is cut short.
Dude, I knew he was gonna show her a porn movie.
Yeah, I mean, this is the X universe.
I know, but once he was like, "Do you want to see a movie no one's ever seen before?" And I was like, "Oh shit, what if it's a porn movie?" And I'm like, "Oh, it is."
And now that I know it's 1918,
Mm-hmm.
he says that it's illegal to film.
Ah,
However, I'm wondering how accurate that was, because since we are at the very start of the film industry,
yeah.
movie theaters are just becoming a thing. I don't know if the Hays Code was established yet, so I don't know if it was illegal to film yet,
Yeah.
because some of the earliest motion pictures are of nude women,
Right. Yes.
because, even in standard art, nudity is the best way to understand movement and form, and so
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
just something to think
Well,
about.
you're probably right because I feel like for the most part, like movies just do stuff. You know what I mean? And sometimes
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot of research involved, which sucks. I wish there was like cool researchers on set to like do all this cool stuff for you, like Sam and I, but no.
Yeah. Well, in Ty West's defense, they did the turnaround on this movie
Yeah.
was very quick. They filmed it back to back with X, and
Right. That's right.
they they hadn't planned on doing a prequel, but I guess Mia Goth
Yeah.
had this story in her head about Pearl and what her backstory was, and she and
Hmm.
Ty West sat down and wrote a script, and that's how this
Cool.
movie came to be. And those are production notes, so we'll get to them in a minute.
That's really cool though. Yeah.
The other main character in this is Pearl's sister-in-law, whose name is escaping me right now, but
It's
she's your
Missy.
Missy. I
Mitzi. No, it's like
Mitzi.
Mitzi. It's like,
Mitzi.
yeah,
Yes,
some weird
perfect
ass
little
name.
Southern girl name.
Of course.
Who is an adorable little rich blonde girl.
Yes.
Um, it's apparent that her brother gave up a lot to marry Pearl, but
Yeah.
Mitzi tries to accept and befriend her sister-in-law the best she can when Pearl is just unhinged.
Yeah, she is.
And it, it's
Jesus.
it's not Pearl's fault she's unhinged. Her mother is abusive. Her father is paralyzed.
Yeah.
He's there, but not really there.
Yeah. Yeah.
She bathes with him still well into her adult age.
Yeah.
Like, her husband must have left immediately after their wedding.
Yeah, damn
Yeah,
straight.
because how would Luke feel if he came home one day and you were just taking a bath with your father?
Probably disgusted.
Like, no matter what his physical shape is.
It's not appropriate when you're
Yeah.
grown ass.
Yeah, like if your father is in that condition, giving him a bath totally acceptable. Taking a bath with him.
Dude, she took, and then she was like, "Oh, I really thought that she took a bath in his bath water, but she did, but he didn't go in it himself. But like, it's still like, ugh,
Yeah.
very cringe."
Yeah.
You know what that
So,
reminds me of, real quick? I'm so sorry to, but have you? We did this a while ago, but do you remember that movie that was black and white, and it was about a woman who lived on a farm and she killed a traveling salesman and like
oh
kept
yeah.
him. Do you remember that movie? The name escapes me, but that the stuff she did with her dad who was like alive, and then when he died, she like kept his body and would like bathe his body and like dance with his, it was
Mhm.
like real weird shit. So like that reminded me of that so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna Google that movie real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Really
but
sorry.
Mitzi is a sweet girl despite being a little clueless.
Yeah.
And our title character, Pearl, she's really the only one to care about in this movie in terms of performances because it was this movie that really got the whole "Give Mia Goth an Oscar" campaign
Yes.
going.
Yes.
And I agree, Mia Goth deserves an Oscar. I still think between this and Infinity Pool came out not too long after this,
Mm,
some of her more deranged characters read the same, and I think it's just her
mm,
intonation and the way she talks.
yeah.
Her
Yeah.
because we discussed it before. She has a very pretty little English voice, and
Yeah,
even
she's
when
very special voice.
yeah, when she does drop an octave or two when she does an American voice, but it's still
It's
high
still high as fuck.
compared to me or you.
Just compared to anybody, any other
Yeah,
woman, I feel like she has
yeah,
a really high pitched voice, even for a woman, you know, like,
yeah. Any woman who's gone through their second puberty.
yes, yes.
Because I feel like I haven't gone back to listen to old podcast episodes ever. Please don't
Yeah,
cancel
please
us.
don't do that. Please don't do that. But anyway.
But I feel like my voice has gotten even deeper since we
Me
started
too.
7 years
I feel
ago.
like my voice is so deep. I feel like your voice is so deep too, but sometimes I feel like your voice is high. I don't know.
Yeah,
What do you think? I don't know.
it depends who I'm talking to.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Sometimes I pitch it up. Just
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, at work.
sometimes I'm just shooting the shit with my friends.
Yeah, and then you're like down here and you're like, hey
Yeah.
guys. Yeah.
But no, I do think Mia Goth will win an Oscar one day. Probably not for a horror film.
She
Um,
was great in this movie, though, I
yeah,
have
she
to
was
say.
spectacular,
Yeah,
and
this was
they should give
insane.
her an Oscar before her face freezes that way.
I know.
But I think it'll probably be a
Yeah.
drama
Yeah.
set in the rural South in the 1930s.
Hmm.
And I don't know, probably be a white savior narrative. That's what's going to win Mia Goth her Oscar.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because the Academy eats that shit up. Nom, nom,
I,
nom, nom.
yeah, they definitely do. I mean, even her monologue in this was like,
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
Um,
Oh,
but
yeah.
anyway,
No.
yeah, the other movie I was thinking of is called The Eyes of My Mother. I've
Oh,
liked.
shit. Yeah. I think you watched that on your own
I
for
did. You
an
never saw it
article.
yet? Oh, girl.
I will.
This
My
movie's fucking crazy. But it reminds me of Pearl because it's an isolated farm type
Mhm.
situation. And what I like about it, which is a fun thing, is you and I love Mrs. Maisel, right?
Yes.
And we both know that Midge has a brother, you know what I mean? Like that
Uh-huh.
scientist brother who's like a secret spy.
Yeah.
He is like the antagonist in this movie.
Ooh.
That's fucking great. Because it looks like a psychopath a little bit in this movie with these crazy eyes. But anyway, okay, anyway. That's neither
Anyway,
here nor there. We're
yeah.
discussing Pearl 2022. Okay,
Yeah.
let's continue.
So Mia Goth is phenomenal. She will get an Oscar one day. Probably not for horror, even though she is a horror girly.
She
Um,
is. Yes, she is.
so story is very simple, just like X was very simple. Um, I think Ty West does very well when he takes these very simple horror concepts and develops them and really uses the characters to sell them rather than
Yeah.
it sounds like I'm insulting him when I say instead of the story, but as a character driven writer myself,
Mm-hmm.
it's you you don't really develop the plot, you let the characters develop the plot, hence why it's character driven and not plot driven.
Mm-hmm.
So because like the story is very generic until we get to the end. It's a small farm girl who apparently wants to abandon her husband who's fighting in World War I to go be a star.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. World War I. That's so wild.
Yeah. So Pearl is living on this
Oh.
cute little farm with her mother and father. Her mother's abusive.
Yeah.
is very strict about money, doesn't want Pearl to waste it on frivolous things like movies, but Pearl does it anyway because Pearl saw a movie once and that's what she wants to do. And after a movie, she meets the hot film reel operator. He offers her a
Yep.
cigarette and a piece of the film, and that's it. She goes home after picking up groceries or a prescription or something for her mother and runs into a scarecrow, and and they have a lovely afternoon together, she and the scarecrow.
Yes.
They dance, she kisses him,
Yes.
reminds him that she's married,
She's mad. She's pissed. Yeah, she's like, I'm married.
and then she fucks him anyway. She fucks the scarecrow.
Yes, she does.
Be-
Interesting. So I was like, wow. And then as I was watching this, I was like, you know what? I really don't even know what the fuck is happening right now in
yeah,
this movie.
this one is much more out there than X was.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
taking whimsy and into a weird direction, which I don't
Yeah,
hate. I appreciate it.
I do too, because I was engaged with it the whole time. I was never bored.
Yeah.
I was like,
Um
damn.
and that's the big difference between Pearl and Maxine is Pearl is very immature even though she's married. Like
Yes.
I don't know how old Pearl is. I'm guessing she's probably late teens, early 20s, but she acts like a 13-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I thought she was so young, and whenever she said she was married, I was like, is she really married? And I
Yeah.
was like, oh shit, she does have a husband.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was like, I wasn't sure if that she was, but yeah,
Mm.
she is.
So she
Tally.
goes home. Her mom's like, I counted my change and there wasn't enough change. What did you spend my money on? And
Nonsense.
Pearl says, I bought some candy because she's not allowed to go to the movies. And so her mom takes her dinner away.
Yeah, damn.
And
She's
then the next day, her sister-in-law, Mitzi, comes over and says, they're looking for local girls to put in a show that's going to travel to 7 different cities. We should go audition, Pearl, because Mitzi is a good friend to her
yes,
sister-in-law
yes.
and wants Pearl to be happy, and Pearl is just a brat.
And they also bring them food, and the mom's like, no. And I'm just like, all right, well, then starve. Damn,
Yeah. This is
hate that.
what in-laws are supposed to do.
Unbelievable.
And excuse me, voice crack. Um Pearl returns to the movie theater. Hot guy shows her a porno
Yeah.
and she's enthralled because as we know, Pearl grows up to be a sex fiend.
Yes. Sex fiend.
And
I
it
was actually surprised the dude was gonna make a move on her, but like it was pretty chill.
yeah,
He was actually quite inspiring for her, this guy.
because
Yeah.
Pearl is one of those girls that could either be 21 or 13. You don't know, and
Yes.
you don't want to risk it.
No. Yeah, that's true. That is
Which
true.
reminds me of the last vacation David and I took
Mm.
before the pandemic, the last real vacation we took, a
Yeah.
true full week vacation.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
we were at the casino in Michigan and
Okay.
we were having fun in the pool at the casino and we
Yes.
noticed a man and would have what could have been a girlfriend or a daughter because she was behaving like a child,
Uh-huh.
essentially, jumping into the hot tub,
Oh
uh,
God.
doing mermaid hair, all these cute little things to get his attention. And David and I are
Fuck.
like, okay, so is that his daughter or are they just in one of those relationships? And as we're toweling off and getting ready to go back to our room to change to gamble, we look
Yeah.
over and they exchange a kiss and we're like, oh,
Oh shit. And that's the real horror show,
it
everybody.
is. It is.
Damn. Goddamn.
I'm
Well,
I'm I'm
you
sure it
work
was
at the
a
casino, Sam, so I don't know what you're expecting, man.
I know.
Just kidding.
I'm expecting people to keep their kinks in the bedroom where they belong
Yeah, no, none of this mermaid fantasy shit in the pool.
or in your sex room. I know those are things.
Yeah, in your sex room, but you can't bring your sex room on vacation. So
Yeah.
what do? You just go, you just do whatever you want. You just go to
I
the
mean, you
pool.
could, but not to the public pool where there's
No.
actual children.
Yeah, there's some public people. trying to chill.
Anyway, that's the kind of girl Pearl is.
Yes, that is
Where
exactly the
where you
same.
see her with her husband and you're like, all right, is that his like kid sister or his wife?
Yes. And unfortunately it is his wife.
I'm not trying to kink shame anyone who's
You're not trying
in
to kink anybody.
I'm not trying to kink shame anybody. I'm just describing an uncomfortable situation David and I witnessed. And the thing is, there were other people in the hot tub when she was doing all
Oh
this
my God.
like I don't think I would have cared if there weren't like other people trying to enjoy the hot tub and she's just like jumping in like
Yeah.
she's 7 but she's a full
Jesus.
grown woman.
If I was in a hot tub and someone jumped on, I'd be like, I'd like say some shit probably. Or I'd just leave. I'd be like, you know what? That's enough for me. It's enough vacation for one day.
Yeah.
Can't fucking stand these adult children. Oh man. Well, anyway, yeah, so that is
Yeah.
like Pearl's vibe. That's like her
Yeah.
MO.
Yeah. Very immature, very sheltered.
Oh yeah.
Uh at some point we also find out they have the pet alligator crocodile. Still no origin story for him.
Yeah.
He's just there, lives forever. Actually, not
Yeah.
even forever because they do have a long lifespan and as we deduced, or I guess it's been longer. I guess it's been longer if it's 1918. I falsely remembered it as being World War II. So I guess it has been 60 years
Like
between
a gazillion
Pearl and
years. Yeah.
so she
Yeah.
takes her dad down to the lake and to talk to him about her dreams of becoming a star. The mom doesn't like that because the alligator's there and she's like, you're gonna push your dad in, aren't you?
And she's like, give me him. I'm putting him back in the house. And
Which is
yeah.
fair because Pearl does indeed end up pushing her father into the lake,
Yeah. Right? No, she doesn't.
doesn't she?
No, she takes a pillowcase and smothers him with it, and then she leaves his dead body at the table.
Oh yeah.
She never puts him in there, but she does chop up bodies at the end and throw them in the body of her
Okay.
sister-in-law
I'm thinking
specifically.
I'm thinking of Film Reel Guy because
Yes, that is
after
it.
yeah,
She puts the
after
car in there.
yeah, after
You're right, you're right.
she and her mom have a fight one night. She goes back to Film Guy, they plow, then he drives her home.
Yeah, at like
And
5 a.m.
yeah. Well,
And then
she
she's
also
like,
sets her mom on fire and then she goes and
yes.
plows him.
Yes, yes, because the night before they have like a dinner, and yeah, the mom they do that. Yeah, that
Yeah.
happens, and then but she's like, "Sorry, Dad, be right back," and then they do that. Wake up, and she's like, "Oh no, I gotta like get ready for my audition because it's today." And I was like, "Dude, did she even practice once? I didn't see her practice one
No.
time." So I was like, "There's no way there's an actual dance."
Yeah. And
Anyway.
so he drives her home in his nice little Model T car. And she invites him in and her dad is there.
Yeah.
Her mom is not because her mom is dead. And she invites the guy to her room and they make out and he's very uncomfortable with the situation.
And it's like also 6 a.m.
Yeah.
to forget.
And he tries to leave and Pearl's like, I thought you liked me.
He's like, what's the matter with you? She's like, nothing.
But she kills him, so there's a lot wrong with her.
Dude, yeah, well, they go in the barn and she's like, I want to show you the barn. And she's like, oh my God, this is Charlie. Herpaderpaderpader. This is blah blah. And I'm like, and he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, you're actually 10. Like, for real. So that's
Yeah.
like what you were saying about the girl who jumped in the hot tub. It's literally what
Yeah.
she was doing. And he was like, I
Yeah.
gotta fucking go now. Bye.
Yeah. She
He's
kills
like,
him,
I'll fucking kill
feeds
you
him to
with the
the
pitchfork.
alligator.
Yep.
Then she gets ready for the audition,
Yeah.
goes to the audition, may or may not nail it.
Yeah, maybe. She seemed like she did a pretty good dance from what I saw.
Yeah, but I guess we'll never know if it was what we saw or if
Yeah.
all of that was in her head, not just, the theatrics of it.
Yeah. What if she just like didn't do well and like did something weird or something or just didn't
Yeah.
dance well.
Yeah.
But they say no, and she like freaks the fuck out and
Yeah.
cries really hard. And then they the sister-in-law is like, okay, let me just take you home now.
Yeah. Because she's like, I'm a star. Please,
Yeah, I know.
I'm a star.
And she's really like, she's like, help me. And I'm like, oh my God. So, like, she's like, I need to do this. And then she's like screaming and like freaking the fuck out. And we're like, all right, like chill. So
Yeah.
once again, very immature because she's having like a freak out screaming temper
Yeah.
tantrum. They do go home though, and then she gives like this really,
Heartbreaking monologue.
yeah, yeah.
And Mitzi says, I didn't get the part, Pearl.
Dude, yeah, that was
And
crazy to
so
me.
this is another thing that is
A
being discussed.
delusion, yeah.
Whether or not, when is Mitzi lying in this conversation? Did she lie
Oh,
the first time when she said she didn't get the part, or is she lying the second time when she thanks Pearl because she got the part? I don't think she got the part. I think
I don't think so either.
Pearl
Yeah.
is just jealous of Mitzi
Yeah.
because even
She's
without getting the part, Mitzi has what Pearl wants, even though Pearl has Mitzi's brother. Uh, because Mitzi and Howard come from a loving home
yeah.
and that Pearl doesn't have, and she didn't get by marrying him because he immediately left to go fight in the Great War.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Yeah.
Mitzi thought that was what Pearl wanted to hear, is that she got the part.
Yeah. So
And
she could just survive
yeah,
that
she just wanted to
conversation.
leave at that point.
Yeah, because she was terrified.
And but of course she doesn't get to leave. Pearl immediately stalks after her and axes her to death. And
Yeah.
that's the answer we get to why Pearl doesn't like blondes.
Ah, yes.
Is because she wasn't blonde, she lost a part, but it could be that she actually just sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, both. Yeah, wasn't blonde, also sucked, maybe.
Honestly, could you imagine Pearl on any kind of tour where she has to share the spotlight with other dancers?
Literally no.
She would be
It
awful.
awful, or she would kill everybody, and then she'd
She
be like, "Why are you so scared of me?" And it's like, dude, because you're like freaking the fuck out. So yeah, it would just never work out, and also the farm will never, like, nothing will ever work out for Pearl,
yeah.
unfortunately, except medical intervention and like a hospital stay, probably.
And she never gets that because
No.
once everybody's dead and the bodies have been disposed, Howard comes home
Yep.
and Pearl offers him lemonade, and we all know what he decides to do. He stays with her and they
Yes.
become a wonderful serial killing couple. So she met someone who matches her crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, you know what? That's really interesting that we see him because he stays with her after all that and
Yeah, and
like deals with her craziness.
we don't find out why he stayed with her or how
Yeah,
he got on board with it because she killed his sister.
I know, right? Unless like she says that like she doesn't know anything about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. What does he know? I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah. So I really thought that when I was watching the movie though, I was like, are we gonna see Howard at all? And like I thought we were gonna like see more of her like being, I thought that she actually became like famous because she had pictures of herself on the wall in X as a dancer
Mhm.
and stuff. So I was like, when do we see that? And maybe it just doesn't even happen. I don't
Maybe it
know.
just happens in her little head with Howard.
Yeah, maybe I'm just misremembering. But yeah, yeah. So anyway, we do see him, and she does that like cool thing at the end. This is something I've never really seen before. Is her holding that like smile through
Uh-huh.
the whole credits.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay, yeah, and that's really interesting. Only a couple movies ever do something like that where they hold that character's expression for
Mhm.
for the whole credits. There's one movie that I've never seen, but it comes to mind as being like a good example of that, which is called, it's like a George Clooney movie. Um, and at the end they like just this focus on his facial expression. It's called It's Michael Clayton.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, but that's a movie that does that too. Not a horror movie, of course, but yeah, so that's really cool because they're like few and far between.
Huh.
Anyway, that's the movie, and so we're like, oh, okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, they stay
It's
on
a
the
it's
farm.
it's a very simple story until it hits the fan, but it's believable when it hits the fan because of how well developed Pearl is as
Mhm.
a character. She's very
Yes.
immature, she's very sheltered, so when she doesn't get her way, she just finally snaps.
Yeah, definitely does.
Um, but moving on to production, COVID
Yes.
obviously inspired aspects of aspects of this film. We see the Spanish influenza
Hmm.
throughout the movie. It reused
Masks.
sets from X, and this is very interesting
Hmm.
because production of this film used the crew from Avatar: The Way of Water because they were all working in New Zealand because New Zealand was one of the few countries where they could still make movies
Oh, okay.
during this time.
Yeah.
So Avatar, the crew from Avatar: The Way of Water were on a break from filming that, so they came over to work on Pearl.
Oh, cool. Nice.
And the teaser for this movie was screened at South by Southwest, following the screening of X. And they did the same thing with the announcement for Maxine, which is the final movie in the trilogy.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, so Maxine was announced when Pearl came to theaters, and it was like a after the credits teaser.
Oh, nice.
And I'm pretty sure Pearl was the same.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Okay, that's really cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I've got one more to watch.
So and this movie, like the last one, drew a lot of inspiration from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Dude,
This
yes,
movie drew
so much.
inspiration from The
Yeah,
Wizard of
yeah,
Oz,
yeah.
Mary Poppins, and other Disney films, simulating their vibrant Technicolor qualities.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I saw that. And then also, I think a little bit of Texas Chainsaw because of the dinner scene with the dead
Yeah, yeah,
parents. Just a little bit. But yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Mary Poppins and uh, whatever the other one you said was
Wizard of
Wizard of
Oz.
Oz. Yes.
Yeah.
That other one.
Like the Scarecrow is a one for one, pretty
Dude.
much.
And then how she was riding on the bike with the red dress and the hat, like the witch in the beginning
Hmm.
of, yeah.
Yeah, and the that's what I like about this movie and the whole whimsy but make it insane quality
Mm-hmm.
is those
Yeah.
influences do come through in a more twisted manner.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it was super bright Technicolor. You're right.
Yeah.
Everything was so
Oh, this movie
vivid.
was so pretty.
It's like, holy shit. Yeah.
It's very pretty to look at. It's very appealing. I love bright horror movies. We need more of them.
I know. Yeah, they kind of take you aback for a minute. You're like, hey, is this scary? And it is.
And there's also something kind of
Yeah.
comforting about them, like a false
Mm-hmm.
sense of security with them because you have to be blind or live in a cave and not know the Wizard of Oz to miss the Wizard of Oz
Yes.
inspiration in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, you remember that movie being cozy, a Thanksgiving staple in many households.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
Thanksgiving.
and well, I remember it always being on TV during Thanksgiving, so
Yeah, you're probably right.
I'm,
Absolutely.
I'm sure I'm right. It's the
Definitely right.
TNT.
TNT. Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Uh, but yeah, yeah.
What
So
else is there? Yeah.
realistic aspects.
Oh shit.
Well, I do think she jumped off the handle a little fast. I do get that rejection makes us all a little crazy.
Yes.
Like, there was no reason for her to immediately jump to murder.
Yes.
But I mean, after 3 or 4 rejections, I totally get it. Like, you want to take an axe to everybody.
Absolutely.
As
Um,
writers, we fully understand
you
rejection.
know, yeah. I knew that something was wrong when she killed Mr. Goose in the
Uh-huh.
beginning of the movie, which made me very sad. I almost texted you actually. I was so upset.
I,
Um
I'm sorry. Trigger warning, Mr. Goose dies.
so there is animal cruelty in this a little bit. Um
Yeah.
but Sorry, Mr. Bruce. That's just Mr. Bruce, though. I don't know why he didn't do anything wrong. Just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Other realistic things is just like hating having to live at home, deal with your parents who are crazy. One baby is sick, you got to take care of them. You don't want to
Yeah.
have to do that too soon, but you do anyway. And your husband left you because he has to go do his duty and shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn.
Having an annoying sister-in-law.
Yeah, so annoying. She's so nice.
So annoying. Not naming any names, you know who you are.
Yeah, just keep coming around. uh Bringing you food and stuff, you don't want
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Although you're starving.
Inviting you to go to the audition with her.
No, everyone's all sick.
She knows how much you want to be famous, so she's like, come with me.
Yeah, she's like, come with me just in case I beat you.
Yeah.
Yeah, not cool. No wonder she died. She's murdered. Anyway.
Getting rejected by the hot guy who works at the movie theater. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, but if you have like a crazy person, it's not gonna like you anymore.
Yeah.
Damn, cheating on your husband while he's away at war.
Yeah, that's awful. That's
I don't know
probably
how
the
long
worst
he's
thing
been
she
gone.
did in the movie.
Yes, but how long was he away? I do not. I feel like it's been like 2 seconds. I feel like he just
Probably.
left. You
Probably.
know what I mean? Huh. Uh, well, uh, thinking you're really talented, but you're not because you literally have nothing to compare yourself to because you live on a farm by yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, not being allowed to like experience culture, not being allowed to go to movies and stuff, like being like super in a bubble, which is why she's like 13. You know what I mean? Never got a chance to grow up.
Yeah.
But also having like a serious mental illness that will never be cured.
Yeah, because you're sheltered.
Yeah.
And it's 1918, so good mental health care has not been invented yet.
No, it hasn't. Yeah, you're either crazy or you're not. No in between. But she's definitely crazy, and it's really interesting because they do. The mom does point out that there is something wrong inside of her that like can't ever be cured, and she's trying to like protect her from the world, and from her reaction to it. And it reminds me so much of the show that I love. I don't know if you like this show or not. We've probably talked about before, The Following, where the main character, Joe Carroll, is also like a serial killer, and that's his mental ill. Like he'll never get better. Like in fact, there's a quote that he says where he says he's like, I'm a monomaniacal need to kill, and it will never go away, it will only intensify with time. And so I always think about that whenever we see a very clear cut person who has to kill for no reason, and it just is exacerbated by her family trying to smother her, you know what I mean? So really interesting that seeing that as a female character.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I like Pearl a lot. I think she's probably going to be a horror icon when we finally watch Maxine whenever it pops up on streaming.
Yeah.
We can have a deeper discussion about the reaction to Maxine and how I think too many people get Maxine and Pearl confused for one another because they are both played by Mia Goth, but they are both very different characters. And after watching all three movies so close together versus how I watched them before, which was months apart for Pearl and X, and then 2 years apart for Maxine.
Yeah.
They are very different characters. They just are, I guess, foils to one another.
Yeah.
But we'll get more into that when you finally get a chance to see Maxine.
Yes, I can't wait.
And I think Pearl is going to be like up there one day with the horror icons.
Yeah, I think you're right too.
Because of Mia Goth's stellar performance.
Yeah, very stellar. And she looks smoking hot in these pictures from Maxine. So that'll be cool. Right.
I think
Well, yeah.
I'll give it an oh yeah, that fucked me up. I really like what Ty West does with his characters. I love seeing a director focus on character-driven horror versus convoluted plot-driven horror.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, this is great. It was actually really refreshing because I wasn't sure what was happening a lot of the time. And I was like, huh. But it has a specific goal. I will say, also, I'll grade it an oh yeah, that fucked me up because that was like totally wild. Like, X, good, predictable in its way because it's a, down south Texas murder thing. You know what I mean? You kind of know what to
mhm,
expect. But this, I didn't
yeah,
ever see anything like this type of a story,
yeah.
So it's really cool. Oh yeah, that fucked me up. Yeah, because I was like the whole time I was like, the fuck is going on? I was like, this
Hi.
movie is wild. So, and it really is. You just gotta like sit with it,
Yeah.
because it takes a little bit to kind of get going. And then once you're focused up and on track, you're like, okay, you're locked in.
Mhm.
Whale.
That is all I've got.
Me too. So I guess it looks like Maxine is like still in theaters a little bit.
It is, but I expect it to
Yeah.
come to streaming soon.
Streaming
I know
soon.
nothing,
Okay.
but I feel like it'll come soon.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, because it looks like there's only like a couple showings each day I'm seeing, so it's like kind of making its way out.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, cool. Well, in the meantime, we can always get back to our roots and continue watching The Haunting of Hill House. Although Sam finished it already or some shit. Didn't you finish it?
I did, but I'm
God
rewatching
damn
it
it.
now.
That's good. That's good. Okay, we're on episode 3, right?
Yes.
Something.
3.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Well, in that case, continue on with that. And then if there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and read the outro notes
Yeah,
because IRL, it's getting late.
it is. I
Well,
want
thanks
some
for
chips and salsa.
chips and salsa. Yes. I just had an enchilada. I made enchiladas.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for tuning into our episode. We are the Real Horror Show podcast. Our host is Sam Odie. Excuse me, and I'm the co-host, Stormy Skies. The podcast was created by Sam Odie and Stormy Skies and is directed, edited, and produced by Sam Odie. You can find Sam on Instagram at Sam is Writing Stuff, and you can find Stormy on Instagram at The Stormy Skies. You can find the Real Horror Show podcast on Spotify, TuneIn, iTunes, Google Play Store, Pandora, and anywhere you like to stream your podcasts. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you're always in the know when a new episode comes out. Follow us on social media. You can find the Real Horror Show podcast on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, and yes, Twitter too. We do more than just podcasts. We love to write and have plenty of great movie reviews and essays, all of which can be found on our website, realhorrorshow.com. We love hearing from our listeners. You can ask us a question or send us a movie request to review by DMing us on social media, or you can even send us an email at realhorrorshowpodcast@gmail.com. And that one email we got with those questions, that was super cool, guys. So, like, really, send us any questions at all. We get really excited to hear from
Yeah.
you.
Any questions? It doesn't even have to be horror
Literally,
related.
it does not. Like, literally any question, I don't even care what it is. just engage with us, please. Anyway, call for guests. Do you love horror movies? Are you a podcaster, a content creator, a movie lover, or anyone in between who is a listener to our show? We would love to have you as a guest on one of our episodes. Reach out to us via social media DM or email us at realhorrorshow.podcast@gmail.com. Our podcast episodes featuring guests are all listed on our website, realhorrorshow.com. We are so thankful for all of our listeners. You are the life force of our podcast, and we wouldn't really exist without you. Thank you all for making this podcast real and supporting us as we record every week. You can support us in different ways, such as liking and sharing our podcast episodes on social media. Giving us a review will help the podcast more than you know, and will help other listeners find it too. You can also donate to Real Horror Show by visiting our support page on our website, where you can make a one-time donation via PayPal, buy us a coffee with the buy us a coffee button, or explore our very interesting Amazon wish list. And any other pertinent news?
I don't think so.
Me neither. Yeah.
That's all I got
proud.
this week.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say you saw a couple of horror movies in theaters, and I don't think we got to talking about that, so we'll have to talk about that next time for sure.
We'll talk about it on the mini
On
show.
the mini show, excellent. And so our outro song is called "Creepy Doll" by Jonathan Colton, and he can be found at jonathancolton.com. Thank you, fuck off, and have a swell evening. This is Real Horror Show signing off.
Bye.
Bye bye.
And there's a creepy doll that always follows me.